Good evening, everyone. The microphones are on, the cameras are rolling. A warm welcome to you all for tonight's City Council meeting and the Committee of the Whole meeting immediately thereafter. We begin our City Council meeting by taking the roll call, and I ask our distinguished clerk to do so.
Bowring?
Here.
Bruno?
Here.
Ruby? Can't hear him though, it's not. Kilbert? Kasserag?
Here.
Maliki?
Here.
Marks?
Here.
Mayor?
Mayor here.
Paschke?
Here.
Swanson?
Here. We begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's my honor to invite the following: Sergeant Russo, Officer Yates, Officer Peck, and Officer Sullivan to please lead us in the pledge. We'll follow your lead.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. For those of you who are curious as to why there's so many police officers present this evening, and perhaps have not yet read the agenda, we have a very special night indeed to recognize the four individuals who just led us in the pledge with the presentation of a life-saving medal to Sergeant Mark Russo, Officer Dan Yates, Officer Bob Peck, and Officer Sarah Sullivan for their actions on October 15th of 2024. The Chief was kind enough to provide me with a summary of that matter that I would like to read this evening. And then, Chief, I believe you have the medals? Fantastic. With your indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, on October 15th, 2024, at 12:22 p.m., Geneva police officers responded to an address on Randall Road to check the welfare of an individual who had left a business on Randall Road and appeared to be bleeding from injuries to their neck and leg. Upon arriving in the area, officers located the individual walking on the sidewalk along Randall Road. It was apparent that the individual was experiencing a mental health crisis. Utilizing their training and experience, officers attempted to de-escalate the situation so that they could provide aid to the individual. The individual refused any assistance and subsequently ran into heavy traffic on Randall Road, where they narrowly avoided being struck by a vehicle. Fearing for the safety of the individual and disregarding their own safety, the officers ran onto the roadway in an attempt to provide aid to the individual. The individual actively resisted the efforts of the officers and at one point produced a razor blade concealed in their clothing. This resulted in additional injury to the individual and posed an extreme danger to the officers. Officers were able to secure the individual and transfer their care to paramedics. It should be noted that a second razor blade was found on the individual once they were secured. These officers made the decision to act without regard for their own safety in service to another. Their quick reaction resolved a very dangerous situation without any injuries to the officers and provided the opportunity for this individual to receive the care and support they needed. Sergeant Mark Russo, Officer Dan Yates, Officer Bob Peck, Officer Sarah Sullivan, this council, this community recognizes your extraordinary service. While this particular event is noteworthy, we know you and your colleagues provide this service every day. We are grateful. We're proud to recognize you this evening. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Passarelli.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to recognize these officers tonight. They don't know what they're getting into each and every day when they put on this uniform and they leave their home. And thanks to their skill, expertise, dedication, and compassion, this potentially very dangerous situation had a positive outcome. I think this community should be extremely grateful that we have officers of this caliber serving our community each and every day. It's one of the most compassionate and humanistic group of people I've ever met in my life, and they're always trying to find a way to give back and help the people of this community. So very proud of all of you and the efforts you put forward that day, and it's my honor to award you each a life-saving medal. So, Sarah, congratulations. Dan? Thank you, and for each of you, then I have a copy of the nomination letter from Deputy Chief Muzio. Congratulations.
I'd be remiss if I didn't invite any of the officers, or all, the sergeant of course as well. If you wish to say anything, do you want to recognize who's here to help celebrate with you? The podium is yours. Russo, you got to come up, man. Come on, it's like...
I just want to say I'm very grateful to work with all these individuals, and on that day, had we not acted the way we did, it would have had a tragic outcome. So I'm very grateful. I thank them all, and I'm glad to be a Geneva police officer. That's all I
I'm
have to
glad
say.
you were too.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about, oh yes, please, Officer Yates,
I'll add a little bit, Mr. Mayor.
please do.
That was a summation of the chaos, but we had help from elsewhere. We had help from the sheriff's office and Deputy Biddle, who was there to help us because he was in the area. He heard the call come out, and we had north and south coming to our location, but we had her subdued at that point, so they backed up. But during that altercation, Deputy Biddle did get stuck by the razor blade. Very minor, but there's protocols for that. And our CSOs, our community service officers, Fletcher and Kuntz, came out there too, blocked the roadway for us so that we could manage that situation. But it was a total team effort, as it always is, and there wasn't a single effort. It was a complete team effort, and we were able to keep her safe, and that's what we did.
Indeed you did.
So thank you.
Peck and Sullivan, you wish to offer any comments? You don't have to, but...
I'm good, I think Dan summed it up great.
Ditto. Well done. We're very proud of you. Thank you very much. And thanks for allowing us to share this important evening with you. Thank you. Now, before all the police officers head out, I'd be also remiss if I didn't wish Officer Parisi a happy 20th anniversary. Woo! Unbelievable, huh? Yeah, now get out. Yeah. Thank you again. Item 4, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening? Item 5 is the omnibus agenda. All items are marked with an asterisk, are considered to be routine by this council, and all those items can be considered and voted upon with one motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Bruno, seconded by Swanson. City Clerk Kellick, please take the roll call.
Bruno,
Aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Kasserad,
Aye.
Maliki,
Maliki, aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Mayor,
Mayor, aye.
Paschke,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bowring.
Aye.
With 9 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 alderperson absent, the omnibus agenda has been approved by this council. Jumping to number 8, municipal bills for payment, we kindly ask our clerk to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration.
Municipal bills for payment total $2,436,809.72.
Mayor, I move that we approve and pay the bills as read. The individual items that add up to that amount can be found in tonight's City Council packet on the city website.
Bruno makes the motion to pay the bills as read, which are available in the City Council members' packets and on the city's website. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Patchke. City Clerk, whenever you're ready, please take the roll.
Bruno,
Aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maliki,
Maliki, aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Mayor,
Mayor, aye.
Paschke,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bowering.
Aye.
The bills have been approved with a vote of 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 alderperson absent. We jump to item 10, presentation of ordinances and resolutions. Item 10A is to consider ordinance 2025-01, granting variations to 1, reduce the west side yard setback to 1.86 feet instead of the required 6 feet, and 2, to increase the allowable lot coverage from 45% to 50% for the property located at 611 Oakwood Drive, PIN number 1202-326-011, lot 142. Ooh, I'll tell you what, Bowering and Patchke, Ms. Dawkins.
Okay, so the subject property is a single zoning lot comprised of 2 lots of record located off Oakwood Drive near the intersection of Park Avenue and the Fox River Woodlands subdivision, which was originally platted in 1924.
Holy macaroni.
One lot is vacant and the other is improved with a single-family detached dwelling and rear yard detached garage. The owners would like to subdivide the zoning lot so that both lots can be established as buildable lots. However, the existing structures on the lot would create 2 nonconformities, a setback of 1.86 feet where 6 feet is required and a 50%. You turned me off and then.
Got it.
50% lot coverage, where the maximum allowable lot coverage is 45%. The applicants are therefore requesting 2 variations for the lot to memorialize the existing improvements, so they may enact a subdivision of 611 Oakwood Drive. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recorded approval at their December 12th, 2024 meeting. And with us this evening, we do have Director DeGroot, and is the applicant present as well? Great. So if you have any questions of the applicant or Director DeGroot, they are here to assist.
We'll begin with our colleagues remotely. Any questions or comments for either the applicant or Director DeGroot from either Alderperson Mayor or Ruby?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay. How about here in the room? Any questions or comments from the alderpersons? We have a motion by Bowering, a second by Patchke. City Clerk, please take the roll.
Bowering,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maliki,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Mayor,
Mayor, aye.
Paschke,
Aye.
Swanson.
Aye.
With a vote of 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 alderperson absent, Ordinance 2025-01 has been approved. Thank you. Item 10B, folks, to consider Resolution 2025-02, ratifying the emergency purchase of a sewer cleaning truck pump and a sewer cleaning truck rental in the amount of $54,275.28. Patchke with the motion. Kasserag with the second. The floor is City Administrator Dawkins.
Okay, so we had a catastrophic failure of the pump on the sewer cleaning truck that occurred at the end of October 2024. The truck was delivered to the manufacturer's representative for evaluation, and the length of time needed for the evaluation necessitated the need to rent a sewer cleaning truck for emergency and planned needs. The city administrator approved the first month rental, and the pump evaluation was received on December 16th, which indicated that the pump could be repaired for $32,000 or replaced with a new pump at a cost of $39,475.28 with a 1-year warranty. The length of time for the evaluation resulted in a second month truck rental. To avoid rental expenses for a third month, emergency authorization was given by the city administrator to replace the pump in the amount of $39,475.28. The resolution for your consideration this evening ratifies the actions of the city administrator and staff authorizing the additional month of sewer cleaning, truck rental, and the replacement of the pump for a total expenditure of $54,275.28. Costs associated with the replacement or rental will be accommodated within the existing budget and reflected in a future budget amendment if necessary. And with us this evening is Director Babica, if you have any additional questions.
Are there any questions for Director Babica? Excuse me. Seeing none and sensing none, City Clerk, please take the roll call.
Paschke,
Aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bowering,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maliki,
Aye.
Marks,
Aye.
Mayor.
Mayor, aye.
Resolution 2025-02 has been approved with 9 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 1 alderperson absent. We jump to item 11, folks, public comment. Anyone joining us this evening, we welcome you to the microphone to share your thoughts. This is your chance to speak, the council's chance to listen. The floor is open. Mr. Chairman.
I hope that you all had a wonderful holiday season. Just wanted to let you know what's coming up in a little over a week. We have Restaurant Week coming up in Geneva. We bill it under the tagline, Dine on the Nines. So the week will actually include 9 days, from Saturday the 18th of January through Sunday the 26th of January. We have 20 restaurants participating, and they all are doing specials with a price point of on a 9. So, it's a $9, $19, $29, et cetera, et cetera. They can be individual items, they can be pairing items. Each restaurant has its own flexibility into what they wish to provide. You do not need to purchase any tickets in advance. You do not need to have a special code to get this deal. All you got to do is just show up at one of the restaurants and order your meal. There is an additional benefit. A number of the restaurants are partnering with the Northern Illinois Food Bank, where a portion of the monies spent during Restaurant Week will benefit the food bank and those in need in our community. Any questions from any of you?
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Debbie Kenarowski. I live on the east side of Geneva. I was a little disappointed and surprised when I received the survey that went out to all of us as citizens here in Geneva. I've been happy as long as I've lived here, and I felt like the questions that were asked and the millions of dollars that were being expected from the citizens, it's pretty difficult to make a decision when you look at a text to decide. And then I got frustrated and angry because I thought, why, if I said to you, do I need a new furnace or do I need a kitchen remodel? I feel like a lot of those questions, you need to know more details to make an educated decision on deciding those kind of issues. And so the more I thought about it, like I said, I got frustrated because it's hard to make a decision on those kind of issues. But then I heard now that you will be deciding whether or not to put a referendum on. And my question is, why wasn't this decided a long time ago? To me, like when you're looking at your house, you say, I need my furnace done, and then I'll need the bathroom remodeled, and then I need to do a kitchen remodel or fix things within the house. And these are foundational items. And instead of spending money on special interest items, to me, you want to always make sure you keep your foundation up first. And so I feel like as a citizen, something happened. And I'm not quite sure what happened to get to this point where we need to have a referendum on the ballot. And so that's my concern as a citizen. And my second question would be, what's Plan B if we vote no? That would be something that I think needs to be addressed, because it's a lot of money for an annual, for people to add to their taxes. And I know there's another referendum for sales tax as well from the county board. So you're asking a lot of citizens to be picking up. So I hope that as you discuss this today, that you'll think about all of the citizens out there. And I think it's going to be a big surprise to people in the community. I know it's in the paper, but most people live their own life, and all of a sudden when they see this, it's going to be a big surprise. So I hope there's some other options that maybe we can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, new business by the council. The floor is open to any council member who wishes to share anything that you believe the community and the rest of us would benefit from hearing. I know you've been interested in this. Motion to adjourn? Motion by Kasserag. All in favor of adjourning the city council meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. The microphones will be turned off until we transition to the committee of the whole meeting.
All right, it's my pleasure to call tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting to order. My name is Anais Bowering. I have the pleasure of representing the First Ward along with my counterpart, Alderperson Mike Bruno. Let's see, let the record show that all members are present, save one, with 2 attending remotely. All right, so then item 2 is approve Committee of the Whole minutes from December 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion? Moved by Paschke, seconded by Kasserag. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. I think we have maybe nods of approval. I wasn't looking in the right direction for our remote folks. Okay, item 3. Moving on to item 3. 3A is consider draft resolution authorizing a contract with Dom Mechanical Industries Incorporated for Couts Road lift station improvements in an amount not to exceed $610,337.76. Administrator Dawkins, do you have an introduction?
We need a motion.
So
Oh,
moved.
sorry, yes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bruno, seconded by Kasserag.
Thank you. So funding for improvements to the Couts Road sanitary lift station was included in the fiscal year 25 budget using a cost estimate from December of 2023. Due to some changes in the design and the cost estimate for materials, an updated engineer's estimate was provided in September of 24. The bid was noticed and the project was advertised in the Daily Herald, on the city's website, and placed in a national bidding site, Quest CDN. One bid was received by Dom Mechanical Industries in the amount of $554,888.88. The cost increase can be accommodated by using funds allocated for other capital projects and from projects completed under budget. Dom Mechanical has worked on projects for Geneva in the past, and staff has been satisfied with the results. A recommended 10% contingency is included in the overall not-to-exceed amount to account for any unforeseen field changes that may occur. And with us this evening, we do have Superintendent Van Gescam, who I overlooked on the last item. And we also have a representative from Fairgram, Alex Hops, if you have any additional questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the dais? Seeing none, sensing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That seemed unanimous. Was anyone watching the remote? Okay, great. I see nods. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 3B. Consider draft resolution authorizing the purchase of ultraviolet lamps, sleeves, and O-rings from Xylem Water Solutions in the amount of $30,980. Do I have a motion? Moved.
Second.
Moved by Paschke, seconded by Bruno.
Okay, so the fiscal year 25 budget has funds allocated towards the purchase of ultraviolet lamps, sleeves, and O-rings for the wastewater treatment plant. The UV system provides disinfection of the wastewater treatment final effluent before the discharge into the Fox River in accordance with the discharge permit. The current UV lamps have reached their end of useful life and are in need of replacement. The bid notice was advertised and posted on the city's website, and one bid was received by the manufacturer Xylem Water Solutions. Again, we still have with us Superintendent Van Gescam if you need any additional information.
Are there any questions or comments from the dais? Seeing none, sensing none, including our remote folks. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, moving on to item 3C. Consider draft resolution authorizing the purchase of a Bobcat model PA450 air compressor from O'Leary's Equipment in the amount of $70,923.07 through Sourcewell Contract 020923-CEC and declare unit number 1024 Ingersoll Rand compressor a surplus property. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Moved by Paschke, seconded by Bruno. Administrator Dawkins.
Okay, so the Electric Division has identified a need for a backup source of compressed air for the Geneva generation plant. The purchase of a new tow-behind air compressor with the capability to supply the needed PSI for plant operations was identified as the preferred method to accomplish a redundant source of compressed air. The new compressor will replace the division's existing tow-behind compressor that has been in service since 1999. The Bobcat model PA450 has been quoted through the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative and as such has already been competitively bid. In addition, we are requesting that the existing compressor be declared as surplus. And with us this evening, we do have Superintendent Holton to answer any additional questions.
So before I open the floor up to any additional questions and comments, I would like to give a shout out to Superintendent Holton, who I understand just celebrated 10 years with the City of Geneva. We are grateful for your contributions and service, and yeah, here's to many more. With that, do we have any questions or comments? Not going to drag Aaron up here. Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that looked unanimous, sounded unanimous. Moving on to item 3D. Consider draft ordinance providing for and requiring the submission of the proposition of issuing general obligation bonds to the voters of the City of Geneva, Kane County, Illinois at the consolidated election to be held on the first day of April 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh boy. Bruno and Marks.
Okay, so over the last several months, the city has engaged the community to help determine a path forward to improve city facilities. Data gathered during the various phases through online surveys, telephone surveys, community focus groups, and a community committee supports moving forward with a bonding referendum ballot question for the April 1st, 2025 consolidated election. For the Council's consideration is an ordinance setting forth a ballot question to issue up to $68 million in bonds to improve the city's public safety facilities, with such improvements to include, but not be limited to, construction of a new police station, construction of a new fire station number 2, improvements to existing public safety facilities, and public safety related improvements to the city's public works facility. The last day for local governing boards to adopt resolution or ordinance to allow binding public questions to appear on the ballot for the April 1st, 2025 consolidated election is January 13th, 2025. Following adoption, if recommended for approval, a plan for community education would be developed and implemented to include a series of public town hall style community events, including short presentation given an overview of the referendum projects, including details of each. In addition, tours of the facilities most impacted by the referendum would be available to the public. As the potential bond issuance will not address all needed improvements for city facilities, work will continue on seeking alternative funding mechanisms to support improvements to the remaining facilities. With us this evening, we do have Rich Carter, and that might be Colin Corbett walking through the door. Are present. They were our community engagement consultants, and they are also here this evening to answer any questions you might have regarding the survey and the community engagement data.
Thank you, Administrator Dawkins. Do we have comments or questions for the dais? From the dais, excuse me. Okay, seeing none. Oh, sorry, Kasarag.
Last meeting, I think we talked about how bond counsel said that we couldn't mix public safety with other things, but I noticed in the proposed referendum question it did include City Hall.
It does not.
Did not?
The proposed referendum includes language to improvements for the public works facility, but those improvements would only be related as they relate to public safety, which would be for the Geneva Emergency Management Agency, who has offices in public works.
Okay, I'm
So,
mistaken.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Marks?
I guess I'd like to say, and if I go offline here, feel free to bring me back in place, but I think maybe the residents don't know, but the council's been working on this for about 3 years, at least. I've been on this council and we've been talking about it long before that, but we had a company come in and actually go through all of our buildings and look at them and tell us what was wrong. Some of them we could fix easily and have set aside funds that we tried to go through and do. The police station was just one that we could not fix. The building is extremely old. It goes back into the early 1900s, somewhere in the 1900s is where part of that building still is. It was updated once before, and those updates now have seen their days. The roof is a constant leak. There's a waterfall. There's outlets and file rooms that can't be used anymore. There's just pouring money into that building through the determination and the tours that the council have had. We have found that it's just not one that we can really save at this point, and that's the major cost of this, is actually goes to the police station. And some of it is just some of the equipment, and if you've ever had to go down there to have your fingerprints taken or anything, you will be seeing a very deep, dark dungeon that you go into. Now, I understand that may be fine for criminals, but for regular residents to go down there that have to have their fingerprints taken, it's not, or staff, yes. I was trying to keep it to, it's very scary. And some of this is actually to protect the public and the officers too, and that's why this is being done. It wasn't done in any back room. We've been working on it. We've had numerous studies done on these facilities. The fire station, yes, we would love to update, but we found out that updating it just would not be the most prudent use of our funds because it was built using more residential construction than commercial construction, which for a building that's used 24 hours a day, that sleeps, fire department personnel, just isn't worth putting the money into. And some of it we just have, I think, issues that, we don't even have separate women or men's sleeping areas in there because when that station was built, that wasn't required. So what we're trying to do is just do some very necessary updates. I don't think we don't have a full plan if it doesn't pass. I will say that. We've been usually very successful in the city when we explain to the citizens what we need and how we need it, why we need it, that they do come through, and we hope that happens again. Yes, the questions, as we can call up these people who did some of these surveys, were meant to be rapid fire questions to get initial reactions, because a lot of these council members had the same question about 3 or 4 weeks ago when the first results came through, because that tells them what people are thinking right away and allows us how to express to the citizens why we need it and what's going on. It's cut way back, trust me, way back than from what this council originally saw. It was in hundreds of millions of dollars, and we have now dwindled it back down to 98 million, and we've gone for, I will say with all this work, to the basic items that we just need for public safety and the safety of our employees. And it's probably far from what we need because we're not touching City Hall, which is one of the other older buildings, which if you've ever toured this facility, you would be amazed at what some of these staff work in. I mean, this was actually at one point a theater, and there are offices made out of those theaters right now. So I don't want to get into too much of what we do, but I think people should realize that we have been working on this for a long time. It was just recently that we got people, hired a consultant to come in and to ask us, get some initial feedback. There's been a group of 26 citizens, I believe, that have gotten the full details of everything that we really wanted to do. They helped us pare it down, but then we even had to pare it down more to make it more palatable even for this council to go for this to take this to a ballot, which I think when everybody in the city, when the residents actually go out and start to see and understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, that we're not being excessive. I mean, I think people will support it, and I hope they support it. I think we all went into this with, I think the first number we all took a large gasp. There was no air left in the room when we heard the initial quotes of what this all could cost. And to let people know, we pared it down as much as we can. And it's not going to take care of everything, but this is the first step in probably many. And we're still, to put good money after bad just doesn't make sense anymore. And these are the two buildings that we have come to the conclusion that it's just tossing good money after bad. That the outcome won't be as good as what we really need to have. And we'll just be facing this issue in another 10 years on these buildings, if not sooner. So I know that didn't address everyone's questions, but I think it should be noted that we did do some homework on this. Staff has been working on it probably longer than the council has been working on it. And it's just something that we do hope the citizens get behind. And yes, we do realize that there's a lot of heavy lifting for this council to do in 3 months, a lot. But we have done our homework. So that's all I wanted to express to answer some of those questions at the open. Mayor, you can feel free to add to it, or anybody else on the council. But we have been looking at this for quite some time. And, the problem is you don't get the whole feel unless you're here week after week seeing how it built up. I mean, seeing a study 2.5 years ago, what shape our buildings were in and what we could fix right away, we kind of took care of some of that. But some of it, these issues just can't be fixed, unfortunately. And we all wish they could be fixed with a lot less dollars. But I think when the citizens see it, they'll come to the same conclusion the council has, that we're trying to be the best stewards of the citizens' money to fix the things we can fix with the regular rates we have. And I think one thing people have to also realize is our general fund for the last 2 years has absolutely no debt to it. Now the electric and the water departments do, but those bonds are paid off by generating the fees from there. But the actual city itself has had no debt. Stephanie, is it approximately 2+ years at this point? Well, we have really dwindled all of our debt down, knowing that this would be coming, and hoping we could get the citizens' support. So, for the last couple of years, I think the citizens have seen at least the city's portion of the real estate tax drop, because we have paid off that debt. And now we're at the point, unfortunately, where we have to go back and ask for some, just to do some major building to make areas safe for the citizens, the employees, and visitors to the city. And that's just really what we're staring at right now. I appreciate the questions, and I hope more of those come up. I really do, where we can address those, because I think when people see it, they will be a little more willing to understand why. We can't control what other taxing bodies do. We don't go around and ask who's taking a referendum when. We need to move forward with what's best for the city. I was involved when we raised the sales tax 0.5 percentage point 5 years ago, roughly 4 or 5 years ago, Stephanie?
2018.
2018. We did make the case. We went out there. It's a lot of work for the council. I know that. We had a lot of small meetings to talk to citizens. We'd probably be doing the same thing again. And I would urge every citizen to come out and sit in through one of those meetings and ask questions where it's more of a free thing, not this structure that we have at council and COW, committee of the whole, I should say, not COW, because people won't always understand that. But that they ask these questions, get answers from the council and from staff members who work with this stuff day in, day out. So I appreciate your comments earlier. And if there's any questions you have, please feel free to call me or anyone on this dais right now. Would be more, or even sitting up on their lovely faces up there. Feel free to give us a call, because we would love to go into more detail, because the more we explain it, I think the more the citizens will understand what we're trying to do. I mean, we've cut this down way back to a 68 million. And I know that is a lot of money. It is a large lot of money. But commercial construction nowadays, especially when you're talking about safety, public safety is not cheap, unfortunately. It's just not. So that's all I wanted to say. I didn't have questions, but I think we should answer some of those questions that the people brought up tonight, because I don't want them leaving thinking that we didn't hear what they had to say. But they will be hearing more in the weeks to come, trust me, building up to the referendum on April 1st. So thank you for your questions. It's just, when you talk, we listen, and now I felt it was fair to answer some of your questions, so thank you.
Alderperson Bruno.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Alderperson for saving me a lot of talking.
Okay, gave me the shot for once, that's fine.
Yes, this was paired way back. I was actually a little saddened that we came down this far. There are things that I think were important that we can't touch. It bothers me that our police vehicles don't sit in a garage. They're sitting out in the elements. But I think too, as big a number as this is, the city is basically at almost a historically low tax rate presently as a percentage of the
Assessed value.
of your assessed value and our overall tax bill. We have been working on this a long time. I think there's great value in making all the changes we'd like to do. This does not address all that we want to do. It is the best long-term investment as opposed to cobbling together monies for repairs, just good money after bad. So as much as I'd like to see more going, I understand this is the safest thing we can do, and I'm wholly supporting it. Thanks.
Anyone else? Paschke?
Yes, can staff just remind me, or maybe you all, but probably staff, I'm missing my notes from before. What was the anticipated tax increase for an average home in the city for this amount?
Sure. For a $350,000 home at $68 million, you're looking at roughly $180 annually.
180.
The average house in Geneva is $392,800, and so that would be right at $200 annually.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, the full amount sounds like a mind-boggling number, and for people who haven't been following everything that's happened, because that's the way democracy works, some of us do.
And I guess I should also say that's the first year, obviously,
And then it-
EAV goes up, but also your payments drop, so that's...
Yep. So that's the max, the start out. So I think the surveys got a good response from folks about their willingness to meet that amount with the knowledge and understanding of what the city facilities are drastically in need of. And I agree with my colleagues. I was disappointed that we had to pare it back as much as we did. But if you can just share again the response we got from the various participation.
Sure. So what we saw in phase 2 and in phase 3.
Can you introduce yourself first, please?
Oh, sorry. I'm Colin Corbett. I'm with E.O. Sullivan, the consultants that have been working with the city. So what we saw both in phase 2 and in phase 3 was strong support for all the projects and to the funding levels. There were 3 different funding levels that were tested. We saw strong support for all the different levels to different degrees. But I think the 2 numbers that I would point to are when asked if they supported either one of the levels or no additional funding, only 20% chose no additional funding. So we've seen throughout this entire process that the citizens of the city were willing to make investments into improvements. So now the key was just finding the plan that balanced their willingness with the needs and finding that sort of fiscally responsible meeting point, which I believe the city has done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I absolutely support this. I appreciate all of the work that's gone into surveying the community and the work before that from the city and the council even before I was on it. And yes, I'm upset that we're not getting everything on our wish list, and the wish list was actually I felt more of a needs list. So I think this is a good starting point, and I support this. Thank you.
Anything from our remote attendees? Yes, Alderperson Mayer.
Tell me if this is a lot of feedback. Eesh. Horrible.
Just go ahead.
Hold on, let me try something. Are you there? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead. Whatever you're doing is not impacting the feedback, so I would not worry about it too much. Having been in your position for 2 meetings, I feel you.
Is it better now though? I at least don't have an echo, so that's nice.
Well, that sounds good. We can hear you.
All right, great. I also wanted to thank Alderperson Marks for his detailed description of the process that we've been through. It definitely saves me having to deal with the audio situation and everything, and add to that. Last meeting when we discussed this, I think there was a lot of regret that we couldn't go for the full amount, and I think I've been swayed to believe that this is the right path. This makes sense to get the first step of getting our facilities into the 21st century. And it's been something that I've been working on and looking at and hoping we'd get to for the past 4 years or 3.5 years that I've been on council. And I'm very happy that we'll be considering whether or not the police station can move, because when I first walked through that facility, I was just blown away by the ragtag situation of some of the rooms, and some of the ways that things have been set up to make do over the years that just aren't going to work for the long term, and aren't what our city, who's doubled in size, really needs. Other than that, I think I too welcome anybody to call me and ask questions about this. I have a lot of confidence that if people talk directly to staff and to us, that they'll be much more open to hearing what this is all about, and that we can get this passed, because it's really needed. That's the truth of it. So yeah, hopefully it'll work out for us, and I'm excited about it.
Alderperson Ruby, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you. I don't disagree at all with the need. I am still struggling with the process. I think the education aspect should have come first, as illustrated by the woman who spoke at the last meeting. And I think we're going to get a lot of that, and I hope this passes, I really do. But as far as the process, I feel, yes, we've been talking about this for 3.5 years, but we've just been given little bits of information at random times. I don't feel we've ever had a long, in-depth, thorough discussion or evaluation. I have seen enough to feel that the need is there. But I don't think it's genuine to say that we've been poring over this for 3.5 years. I mean, there's so much that I don't know. What I do know is I'm sure insignificant compared to what I don't know. That being said, I do believe that there is a need for this. And I'm also curious about Pete Adams. I haven't heard that name or seen him in a long time. He was hired to kind of spearhead this, and he hasn't been involved in anything. And I guess just one more thing that I am just frustrated with in the process. I'm happy that the woman who made the comments in the last meeting, I'm thrilled that there was a response to those comments, but we have been round and round in circles multiple times and ultimately made this big rule that we're not allowed to respond to any public comment. And while this is a separate meeting, we've done exactly that. So it's just the inconsistencies are frustrating to me. So that may be a little off topic, but I just wanted to publicly state that. And I don't know if you can comment on the employee. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Administrator Dawkins?
Sure. So Pete Adams is the facility manager that was hired just over a year and a half ago. He's very much involved, but he's actually been more involved in doing the day-to-day projects and the capital projects we have in the budget this year. In the last year alone, he helped facilitate $500,000 worth of capital projects on facilities. So while you may not have seen his face, he is definitely involved, but he's also making sure that our buildings are continuing to be maintained and doing the projects that we can do now today.
And to speak to the educational component, I recognize what was said before about how the public needs more information. So I think it's important to note that that's what the next few months are going to be. I believe the alderperson said that, and I want to expand on that simply because the process is intentional to not give people and try to persuade people to support what we're talking about throughout the engagement. I think we've said this at a few of our meetings, but we purposely don't put our thumb on the scale and tell people how amazing it would be if we had the new police station, the new fire station, the improved city hall, because then we don't know when people respond. Are they saying yes because we just convinced them to say yes? Or are they saying yes because they truly actually want to see that work done? And so there's been very little to no persuasive language used in this entire process for that reason. It's intentional. But that being said, there is a need, there is work to be done now to go out to the public and give them all that information. Let them know the story of how we got here and all the many, many people, the hundreds of people who participated in this process, not just over the last few months, but over the last few years, as was mentioned, to lead to this decision, and then what it will do for residents and families and the improvements it will lead to. All that's going to be done over the next 3 months. And so the public will not be feeling on election day what they may be feeling today, which is we don't have enough information. That's what we're going to be working on over the next few months. By the time they do make their decision at the ballot box, they will have a lot of information to be able to make an educated choice on whether they do or don't support the referendum. So that challenge is going to be met and overcome in the coming months.
Alderperson Maliki.
I just have 2 quick questions since I'm new to the game, so to speak. Just really quick with as far as some of the dialogue we had through the process over the last couple of weeks, and Stephanie, you can probably answer this. With how the wording is, or but not limited to wording, I assume that any of those costs that are but not limited to have to stay in the same category as public safety improvements and whatnot, correct?
That is correct. They all have to relate to public safety. So when we talked, as I mentioned, when Alderperson Kostrog spoke, when we mentioned improvements to public works, it would only be improvements to the public works facility that support our public safety agencies, which was either your police, your fire, or our Geneva emergency management.
Sure. Okay. That was my assumption. I just wanted to clarify that. And then as far as the steps over the next 3 months between now and the April election, are those the costs and all that legwork? Is that still under the contract with our current consultant? Is that all part of the package?
No, that's under a separate agreement.
Okay.
To clarify, the work with the city is
with the city is covered.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
but there's
Right.
there's a separate agreement with E.O. Sullivan to take us to the next phase, assuming that the council recommends approval of a ballot question.
Okay.
But that's again for providing factual information and education, and not because once a decision is made and the ordinance is passed, we're only allowed to educate.
Sure. Okay.
We're not allowed to persuade.
Right. So, okay. I just was trying to familiarize myself with the process as well. So, okay, thank you.
And we'll be providing that information to you all on what you can and cannot do. And we don't like coming anywhere near the line. So there'll be no ethical gray areas here. Everything that's done is going to be completely transparent, above board, and you all will be comfortable knowing what you're allowed to do in this process and then what you're not allowed to do in this process. We'll make sure everyone, not just board members, but staff and anyone else involved, is fully educated on how to approach this process completely above board.
Okay. Well, then, just as chair, I guess I'd like to add, since there don't seem to be more comments, I also am very supportive of this. I want to thank Alderperson Marks also. I will not belabor the points he made very eloquently. But in short, I think that this is an important investment in our community and our continued prosperity and safety. It is a large amount, but I think actually it is going to be a very efficient use of that money, and to spend less money would actually in the long run cost more. And I do hope, since I'm still allowed to say this, I do hope that we can earn the support of the residents of Geneva. I think this is a very important step for us to take. I concur. It does not address every facility need that we have identified, and there are some significant outstanding ones, but it is a very important first step, and I'm happy to see us moving forward with it. So, unless there are any... Go ahead, Alderperson Marks.
No, just so, Administrator Stephanie, Dawkins, can you just take us through the steps? Tonight is just moving it to the council and then what's all going to happen, so the public does know that this is not really like the final push before it goes out.
So tonight you all are considering the language that would go on the ballot. That's what was included in the packet, the ballot question. And should you vote in favor of that, that would be moving it forward to next Monday. There would be a special city council meeting to then take that same ordinance and formally adopt it, which would then be submitted to the county to go on the April 1st ballot. And then from that point, we would then begin the educational component of the referendum process.
So the public hearing is actually the vote on this one?
Yeah, there is no public hearing. You're not required to have a public hearing. It's just the council's decision whether or not to put forward a referendum question.
Alderperson Kosaruk.
Thank you. Just in terms of the information out there, there's a whole section on the city website that specifically says facilities improvement, and it has the results of all the surveys and a whole bunch of other information in there. So that's been up for, I don't know, a long time, several months, couple months.
I think our first meeting was October.
I think that information's been up for even before that.
Even before that. So yeah, since early fall.
So if anybody's curious, I mean, obviously, as everybody said, reach out to any of us, but there is information at your fingertips anytime you want, and I'm sure that'll be updated as we go throughout the process. That was it. Thank you.
Alderperson Bruno.
Thank you, unless someone else needs to speak first. The specific language, this is, it's my understanding, this is what passes legal muster. So,
right, the language that is provided this evening was drafted by our bond counsel. So they're the folks we work with whenever we are issuing a bond. In consultation, obviously, with the city to ensure that we were covering what we needed to cover. And then just for clarification, there was some discussion that not everybody has heard, but we can't commingle the public safety with City Hall improvements. They have to be separate. And so in lieu of going against legal counsel's advice and in lieu of submitting two questions, that's why we are leaning towards the public safety question.
Okay, and the so I wouldn't pretend to have any additions to that or changes to that, but I do appreciate that there doesn't seem to be any ambiguity in this question, how it's stated, which I know that some referendums have come up where the voters aren't really sure what yes or no means. So yeah, looks good. Thanks.
Alderperson Mayer.
Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to set some expectations for what kind of architectural views we would have to show people, because my understanding is that this is only to kind of trigger the start of a design program, full design, and that we're not going to be able to show, floor plans and images of buildings of what this is for. Do I have that pretty right, Stephanie?
Yes, that is correct. Before we spend more dollars in generating architectural designs and floor plans and all of that, this is more of a space needs. So we know the space, it's a programmatic type of plan. So we know that we're looking at a, I should know off the top of my head, but at least for the fire station number 2, we're looking at a 20,000 square foot station, because we know that's the size we need to meet all the programmatic needs. And so we can show you boxes and how it might sit on a site, but we won't actually engage architects or any further expenditures until we know that we have the money to do the project.
And that would be made clear to the public as we move forward, letting them know that just like everything the city does, should they approve moving forward with these projects, then the city will be collaborative and transparent and okay, let's work together and what these would look like and what we want as a community and what we want as a city. So we'll make that clear in the next 3 months, that the city's being fiscally responsible to not spend those funds today, but should the city's residents feel comfortable with moving forward and voting for the referendum, then next steps would be that transparent and collaborative process of arriving at those renderings and how it's going to look and all the final details.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, anything else? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, think that was unanimous?
I will note, when it comes to the council, the mayor will also get a vote.
Okay. Corporate authorities. All right, noted. All right, then moving on to number 4, public comment. Do we have anyone here wishing to make public comment? Nope. All right, so do we have, moving on to item 5, new business. Do we have any new business from the council? All right, number 6, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll give that to Marks. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All right, this motion, or this meeting is adjourned.